guys, now that things are gradually getting more and more normal, depending on where you are, we're going to talk about getting back into normal life after the world shuts down. Easier said than done? Let's find out. If you're new here, my name is Binit, this is my wife,
Christine.
and we talk about real life as organized parents, or parents trying to be organized, and all that entails. So if you like that kind of content, please consider hitting the subscribe button, and then make sure you click that bell icon.
Now we've broken down getting back into normal life into 3 steps. The first of which is, how can we be better prepared if something similar were to happen in the future?
Yeah, so think about your last few weeks, what's been most uncomfortable or inconvenient, and ask yourself, what can you do to mitigate the impact of that kind of a situation or prevent it from happening again?
Go!
We had a little bit of food storage before we went into social isolation, and that was great, and we definitely want to maintain that, but at the same time we were rotating it out a lot more while we're in like this social distancing mode. And what that meant was that whenever we got new stuff, we had to kind of like squeeze the old stuff out. I don't know if you squeeze cans out. It doesn't sound pleasant. We are smart enough to rotate the stuff so that when we get new things, then we put those in the back, and the things with a closer expiration date, we use those next. But it was a bit of a hassle, so we want to get some shelves for the cans where you can put the cans in, and it's like a first in, last out type of system, thereby making the whole thing a lot easier to use.
I'm a teacher, and therefore it was okay for me to be able to find activities for our 2 oldest for them to do during school time. However, it would have been super nice to have had some toddler activities that would have kept Lucas active whenever he didn't want to draw or play with Legos anymore. So that's as easy as going to Pinterest and making like a little board with toddler activities they can do when they are bored. I'm gonna get started on that.
The second step is to reevaluate your day-to-day priorities.
Yeah, and that means taking an inventory of your new life and figuring out what are the things that I really liked about how life was for the past few weeks, and what are some things that I'm desperately wanting to get back to.
What does that look like for you? What is one thing that you're excited to get back into now that things are slowly returning to normal? Leave us a comment and let us know. What does it look like for us? Let's have a look. Whoop!
We've been spending a lot more time lately talking to family than we usually do. And that's because when this whole thing started, we sat down and talked about this is something that we want to prioritize.
And it's so nice that even though the world is feeling more socially isolated and distant, that we're still able to connect with and feel closer to the ones that we love.
That's actually a really good point.
Yeah, cool. Benny, how's it going with that rash?
Okay, see ya!
Before all this self-isolation, we used to have to run out the door 3-4 times a week for sports and other extracurricular activities for the kids. Now, while we were at home, all of us, we didn't have to do those things. It was super nice. And I really miss that now. So we decided, along with Marcus, that he would drop one of his activities. And that leaves one extra night where we can sit down together and have a nice family dinner.
So for me, I think it's getting back into football every Saturday morning. It's something that I used to do every week for a couple of hours, and that was like my one constant in terms of getting regular weekly exercise and a little bit of social interaction as well. And obviously that's been shut down during this period of social isolation, but I expect it to be starting up again any day now, and I'm quite excited once it does to get back into that. So that'll be on the top of my list.
The third step is putting those pieces together and figure out how to get your day-to-day life going again in a practical sense.
Yeah, so that includes all the things that we just talked about in the previous step, the things that you're excited to get back to, and all the things that you've decided just to do differently this time around.
Yeah, so let's have a look at our calendar. So this here is a very typical week at the end of January of this year. And the way we set up our calendar is that the blue is business, the pink is mine, the green one is our combined family activities, and the orange one is the kids'.
So it looks super busy, and to be honest, it is quite busy. We've got kids' extracurricular activities pretty much every day of the week. We've got overlapping evening meetings. We've got work that we do on our YouTube channel. We made it work, but we've also seen a very nice contrast to what it's like when life just slows down a bit.
Which brings us to a typical week during social isolation. Now we're both still working from home, and my work is a lot more flexible, but I am also trying to homeschool the kids during work hours.
What's really nice about this is that we have this whole block from right around the time when we wrap up work until the kids go to bed, where things are just a lot calmer than they used to be. And the feeling that came with that is something that we want to try to hold on to. Eventually, things will return back to normal, and we'll get some of those evening meetings and the kids' extracurricular activities back. And that will look something like this. Now, we've already talked about cutting down on some of those extracurricular activities, but obviously we're not going to do that with all of them. But what we are going to do is to focus on the things that we can control. So putting in the things that are a priority, like Saturday morning football for me, and trying to free up some of that time that we've really enjoyed at the end of work hours.
The way that we can do that is try and set up some carpools with some of the other parents that are going to those extracurricular activities anyways. And also try and combine some of those family fun activities with those extracurricular activities as well. So for example, on Thursdays, Marcus's handball, so Binna will drop him off, bring Emilia along, have a date with Emilia, and then pick him up again on the way home. We use our calendar a lot. We put everything in there from birthdays to activities to appointments, just so we won't miss anything. But we don't always follow our calendar to the T.
No, and that's fine. We're cool with that because if you put stuff in your calendar, it's there. If you miss something that you were gonna do and it's really important, then you just move it to another day where you think, oh, well, I'll try again. The key points are being consistent and not to stress out if you're not perfect because it's gonna take a while and that's okay.
Those are our 3 steps for getting back into normal life. If you like this video, then please give it a thumbs up so we know that you'd like this type of content.
Yeah, and YouTube has been nice enough to recommend some videos for you to check out now. They're over here to our left, your right, so have a look and then we'll see you next week.